Hey everyone, welcome to another video by Simplilearn. In this video, we will go through ASP.NET MVC interview questions. If you're looking for a job that involves knowledge of ASP.NET MVC, here are some of the important ASP.NET MVC interview questions and answers that will help you get confident and feel better while giving an interview. But before we begin, make sure you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and clicked on the bell icon so you never miss an update from Simplilearn. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. We will start with the beginner level ASP.NET MVC interview questions and answers. What is MVC? MVC is a software architectural pattern that divides an application into three major components. MVC stands for Model, View, and Controller. The model represents the shape of the data and stores the data that it retrieves from the database. View is a user interface used to represent the data of the application as tables, charts, and diagrams. It also communicates with model and controllers easily. Controller. The controller in MVC holds the user's request. It handles the HTTP request made by the user. Explain the lifecycle of MVC. Lifecycle is a series of steps used to handle the request to change the state of the application. The lifecycle of MVC is divided into two categories: Application Lifecycle and Request Lifecycle. Application Lifecycle runs the IIS application until it stops. The Request Lifecycle handles the HTTP request of the application. List the advantages of using MVC. MVC has a lot of advantages with building the application. Some of them are: MVC provides separation of components that allows the reuse of applications across the several platforms. MVC allows applications to change features like layouts, fonts, and colors without affecting the entire architecture of the application. MVC uses asynchronous techniques to build applications that can be easy for a developer to build application in a faster and secure way. What are the actions, and list a few of them? Action methods in MVC execute the request and generate the response. Actions have one-to-one mapping with the user. Here is a list of few of the actions. Content result, it returns a string. File path result, it returns the file path content. File content result, it returns file content. JavaScript result, it returns the script for execution. JSON result, it returns JSON formatted data. View result, it helps to receive a response for the view engine. And file stream result, it returns file content. And redirect to result, it helps to redirect to the specified URL. What are actions filters, and list the types of action filters? Action filters are attributes that apply to the controller or a controller action that helps in modifying the executed actions. MVC framework includes several actions. Some of them are: Output catch. Output catch catches the output of a controller at a specific time. Handle error. Handle error handles the error when it executes an action. Authorize. Authorize enables you to restrict access for a control. What are action verbs? Action verbs are HTTP requests applied to the action methods to work for HTTP request methods. Some of the action verbs are HTTP post, HTTP get, HTTP put, and HTTP delete. What are code blocks in MVC? Code blocks in MVC are used to enclose C# statements. This is an example for code blocks. It starts with the symbol @ and encloses with curly braces. Code blocks work with loops and keywords in different ways. What are helpers in MVC, and list the types of helpers? Helpers in MVC are HTML classes that help to create HTML control programmatically. HTML helpers in MVC generate HTML and result as a string. Some of the different types of helper methods that ASP.NET provides are: create links. Create links is to get the information from the routing tables. Create inputs. This helps to create text boxes and buttons. create form, handle post back to an action on a different controller. What are non-action methods? Non-action methods are attributes used when a public method in a controller does not want an action method. Here is an example that shows how to create a non-action method in MVC. What is model binding? Model binding in MVC allows mapping the HTTP request data with the models using the data sent by the browser in an HTTP request. Model binding also acts as a bridge between the HTTP request and C# action methods. Using model binding, it automatically transfers post and get into a specified data. Explain the process of validation in MVC. Validation in MVC is used to check the user input and provides a set of validation that is easy to use and powerful to check the errors of the user. What is a partial view? Partial view is a view that is rendered from the another view, which helps to break the larger view into smaller views. A partial view is also used to reduce the duplication of the common markup content across the markup files. What are logic layers? The logic layer defines and decides the information needed to solve the assigned problems. Logic layers in MVC are divided into three types: business layer, display layer, and input control layer. What are the drawbacks of MVC? There are many advantages and disadvantages of using MVC applications. You will now understand some of the disadvantages of using them. MVC is not suitable for large type applications. The complexity of the applications is high using MVC. It is difficult to understand the design pattern in MVC. Deployment of applications is hard compared to the other applications. What are file extensions for Razor View? Razor is a view engine used to write the mix of HTML and server-side. It is also a general-purpose template engine that does not provide any ties to the MVC, which allows the creation of view engine inside the application. Razor in MVC contains Razor Markup, C# and HTML. File extensions of Razor View are divided into two types: .cs HTML used for C#, .vb HTML used for Visual Basic. What is an unobtrusive AJAX? It is a progressive enhancement that focuses on the delivery of the content. AJAX calls in unobtrusive AJAX which are made through built-in helpers to eliminate the need to add the blocks of code. What are get and post actions? Get in MVC is used to request the data from a specific resource. It is the most common HTTP method. Below is the syntax of get action. Post is used to send data to the server to create and update a resource. Below is the syntax of post action. Now let us look at intermediate level interview questions. What is a Razor? Razor is a view engine used to write the mix of HTML and server-side. It is also a general-purpose template engine that does not provide any ties to MVC, which allows creating a view engine inside the application. Below is the syntax. In C# it is .cs HTML. In Visual Basic it is .vb HTML. What is exceptional handling in MVC? Exceptional handling in MVC is used to execute the action methods using try and catch blocks. It is the process for responding to the exceptional condition for the special processing. For example, here in this program, you will create an exception for the application that shows an error on the web page that displays a custom error message or custom error pages. What is a layout view? Layout view in MVC allows creating a common site template that inherits multiple views to provide a consistent look for an application. The layout view has the same extension as other views, which you can store in the shared folder. ASP.NET MVC layout allows the child views using some methods, like render section method and render body method. What are web APIs? Web API is a platform used to build RESTful applications using .NET frameworks that include small and large applications for devices, tablets, and mobile devices. Here is an example for Web APIs. This is a basic program to add the configuration of Web API in the configuration folder of the MVC application using the name Web API config. What is form authentication in MVC? Form authentication in MVC is responsible for users' credentials like sign up, sign in, login, and logout. It also provides a way to handle authentication using custom logics in ASP.NET applications. You can do form authentication using the SQL database to provide the user credentials and information. It is used to edit the web configuration files and add a login page to authenticate. Explain Bootstrap and its use. Bootstrap is a front-end framework tool used for web applications to build a user interface using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It was first developed by Twitter developers for personal use and became popular with the designer and developers with flexibility. Bootstrap provides all pieces of layouts, menus, fonts, widgets, and other many features. You can find Bootstrap files in the Solution Explorer as bootstrap.css and bootstrap.js. What are Glimpse in MVC? Glimpse in MVC is a free and open source NUGget platform used to perform operations like performance, debugging, and diagnosis for the applications. It allows users to find information about every action by the server, including the Azure test in the application. List the types of action results in MVC. Action result is an action method used along with an action. It is the result of action execution. The action result is a return type. Action results are divided in MVC into three categories: status result, content returning result, and redirection result. Status result provide the status of the code to the browser. Content returning result is responsible for returning the content, and redirection result redirects the specified URL. What is a request lifecycle? Request lifecycle is a sequence of events that occur when the application handles the HTTP request. Request lifecycle involves 5 steps: routing, MVC handler, controller, action invoker, and result execution. Routing is used to map the incoming URL to the router and creates request content and sends it to the next layer. MVC handler is responsible for creating the controller instance. Controller is used to deal with the request and implement the controller interface. Action invoker is used to execute the action method sent by the controller. Result execution is responsible for the execution of action method in the controller. Explain the ways of adding the constraints to a router. Constraints to a router in MVC are added in 2 ways: using the object that implements the router constraint interface, or using the regular expressions. Explain routing in MVC. Routing is the process of mapping the browser request to the controller and responding back. Router handles the information and URL patterns in routing, and it stores all the configured files to the application in the routing tables. Routing in MVC is divided into 2 types: convention-based routing and attribute-based routing. This is an example of registering the routing with different custom routes using the name default. The default maps with the URL pattern in the routing table. What is output caching? Output caching is responsible for improving the performance of the application. It also enables you to remove unwanted actions. Below is the example for output caching. Mention the benefits of areas. Areas in MVC allow to organize the models, views, and controllers into a separate function in the application like billing, support, etc. Let's see some benefits of using areas in MVC. Using areas, it is easy to perform unit testing. It allows you to separate the functional sections of the applications. It also helps in communicating with the other areas by creating another area. What is a view start? View start is introduced by a view engine that applies to all views automatically. Below is an example for view start. What is attribute routing? Attribute routing is a type of routing that provides more control over the URL by defining routers directly on the actions and controller in the application. Some of the advantages of using attribute routing are: it reduces the chance of errors in the application. It is easy to map routes pointing to the same action. It provides more control over the URL. How to change the action names in MVC? The action name attribute is used to change the action name in MVC. Explain data annotations. Data annotations in MVC are responsible for providing the instance checking for the client side. MVC provides various data annotations. Some of them are: required is used to indicate the property of the required field. String length is used to indicate the string length. Bind is used to include or exclude the binding parameters. Email address is used to value the email address. What is the difference between MVC and web forms? MVC is based on a design pattern that helps to create the application faster. Web forms are based on functions and code behind. MVC provides HTML helpers to create the controls, whereas in web form, every control in web form has server control. MVC is used to create partial views, and web forms are used to create user controls. There is no view state in MVC. View state in web forms is used to maintain the state. It is easy to use jQuery, JavaScript, and CSS in MVC. Web forms use a little jQuery and JavaScript. Differentiate between view bag and view data. View bag is used to transfer the temporary data from the controller to a view. View data is used to transfer data from the controller to the view. View bag is a type of object, whereas view data is a key value collection. View bag is slower than view data, and view data is faster than view bag. View bag works only on .NET 4.0 and above. View data works on .NET 3.5 and above. View bag is used as dynamic, so no need for type conversion, whereas in view data, type conversion is required. Explain scaffolding in MVC. Scaffolding is a technique used as code generation for ASP.NET Web applications. It also generates code for CRUD operations using the Entity Framework models. It reduces the time and generates clean code while creating the application. It is automatically installed in Visual Studio 2013 and above versions. Explain the difference between temp data and view bag. Temp data is a key value collection, whereas view bag is a type of object. Temp data is used to pass data between two consecutive requests. View bag values becomes null. Temp data works during the current and subsequent request. View bag works only at the current time. Temp data works on .NET 3.5 and above. View bag works with .NET 4.0 and above. Explain the difference between render page and render body. Render page is a layout page that contains content filled by the other pages, whereas render body is a method of master page or Razor commonly used as a layout page. Render page is obviously present in the layout view. Render body doesn't have a fixed path. Render page does not include any parameters, but render body always includes the parameters like boolean. Multiple methods are not allowed in render page. Render body allows multiple methods. List a few rules of Razor syntax. Razor is a view engine used to create web applications by combining the features of MVC. There are certain rules to be followed for the Razor. They are: Razor block having C# are enclosed with curly braces. Variables are always declared with the var keyword. Variables and functions with inline always start with the symbol @. C# file has an extension of .cs HTML. Code statements always end with semicolon. Now let us look at the advanced level interview questions. What are bundling and minification? Bundle is a logical group of physical files used to improve the performance of the application by providing the inbuilt features bundled into a single file, which improves the performance using HTTP request known as bundling. This program below shows all the bundles of CSS files present in the folder of bundling. Minification is a technique of removing the unnecessary comments and characters from CSS and JavaScript to reduce the size to improve the performance of the application. Below is the example of minification. It alerts if the number is even or if the number is odd. What is JSON binding? JSON binding is known as JavaScript object notation binding that supports MVC3 using JSON value provider factory. It allows action methods to accept and model bind data in JSON binding. This is a simple program that shows how to bind data using JSON binding. What is cross-domain AJAX? AJAX cross-domain sends a request to refresh the URL domain of the web pages. There are many ways to implement and use the cross-domain AJAX. The most commonly used cross-domain AJAX are send JSON pre-request and cross-domain resource sharing. Explain the usage of remote validation in MVC. Remote validation is the process of validating specific data posting to a server without posting the entire data to the server. This program on remote validation helps in checking the validation of the user using the parameter username and that displays the message name already exists. List the standard HTML helpers in MVC. Standard HTML helpers in MVC are used to render the HTML controls like label, text box, password, checkbox, etc. Some of the standard HTML helpers in MVC are HTML text box. It is used to create a text box. HTML password. This is used to create a text box with password identity. Next we have HTML checkbox. It is used to create the property in the checkbox. HTML radio button. It automatically displays the property in the radio button. Explain the implementation of AJAX in MVC. AJAX is asynchronous JavaScript and XML client-side script that communicates to the database without any need from the postback. It also speeds the response time in the application. Below is the syntax of AJAX in MVC. Explain about MVC model binders. Model binders in MVC allow mapping HTTP request with the model. It works when a user requests the data from the browser to the controller. At this time, model binding works on middleman to map the incoming request with the controller action method. Update model method function observes the request and updates the model class. This program is process of adding the controller with the index action method to the MVC. Explain areas in MVC. Areas in MVC allow organizing the model, view and controllers into a separate function in the application like billing, support, etc. It is mainly used for large applications. When the developer or user is working with the area, it is important to register with the areas. The syntax for registering the areas is as follows. In this, each MVC has its own area folder that allow it to keep controllers, models and views separately. Explain the roles of presentation, abstraction and control in MVC. Presentation, abstraction and control is an architectural pattern that separates MVC interactive system into three types of components. Presentation. Presentation in MVC is responsible for formats of the visual and audio presentation of the data. Abstraction is responsible for retrieving information and processing the data. Control handles the flow of control, the communication between two components. Explain the uses of keep and peek in MVC. Keep in MVC is used to preserve the data of temp data after the value is read. Peek in MVC is used to read the value in temp data without clearing the data. Here are some differences between keep and peek. Keep provides two overloading methods, whereas peek provides no overloading method. Once the data is read by the keep, then the data is erased. The data in peek remains the same after the operation is successful. In keep, redirect to result and redirect to route result are called to get the items back. In peek, there is no action called by the peek internally to retrieve. So with that, we have reached the end of this video. Like and share it if you found it interesting. Thank you for being here. Keep learning and stay tuned to Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.